Well, good morning. It is wonderful to be here. Thanks for letting me come and hang out with you folks a little while. Do me a favor. How many of you have had a great day? Raise your hand if you've ever had a great day. Now, I want to qualify this. Not just a sort of great day. I mean a hammering great day. How many of you have ever had that? I love it. I have a very interesting way of doing business, so let me kind of inform you about that, and then we can move on with the program. I have a wonderful lady who works for me. Her name is Michelle. And what Michelle does is she answers the phone when a client will call and they'll say, hey, we'd like to have Dr. Henry come speak to us on such and such a date. And Michelle doesn't call me. She just lines the program up, gets everything going. And then probably about a month out before the program starts, she says, hey, Dale, you're speaking for so-and-so, and you need to call and talk to them, and they want to talk to you about what you're going to talk about. So that's the way my life kind of goes on. So I'm sitting at home, relaxing, minding my own business, having a super day, and my cell phone rings. And all of us have had this happen. We look at our phones, see if we know who it is. And I didn't know who it was, so I answered in my I don't know who this is answer. And the person on the other end is just out of the galaxy excited. You ever talk to somebody like this? I mean, they're like, I'm just like, I don't even know who this is. Maybe they got the wrong number. And he goes, Dr. Henry, I am so thrilled. I just got off the phone with Michelle, and I found out that you're going to be speaking for us in about 6 months. And I got your number. I just wanted to talk to you. And now, remember, I have no clue who he is, what the venue is. Nothing. I know nothing. And I said, well, why don't we just stop for a second? Tell me a little bit about, what we're doing so that I can catch up. And he said, oh, I'm so sorry, Dr. Henry. My name's Jim Wilson. I saw you in Chicago. You'll be speaking for us at the Harvard Graduate School of Business. Now, I'm an old college professor. And when somebody says that you're speaking at the Harvard Graduate School of Business, you get a big smile. Because that's cool. I live in Harriman, Tennessee. I mean, teeny little town. Now, this is great news. Now, and when you get great news and when you're really happy, you got to share that with people. Now, in my little town, Harriman, Tennessee, about 2,500 people live there. We have a little coffee shop that a group of men go to every morning. Call these men Romeos, retired old men eating out. You all know the one. So I go down to meet with the Romeos because they kind of live through my travels, and I go down there and I walk in and I'm waiting for this small town guy does good deal, and so I walk in, I go man, they go, Dale, where you been? Where you going, man? What's going on? I goes, guys, you're not gonna believe this. You're just not gonna believe this. I'm speaking at the Harvard Graduate School of Business. Now, I'm expecting people to jump up, high five. I mean, come on, this is great news. I'm tickled. And every one of them just did this. What? That's good. That's good. And then one of them said, is that near Nashville? See, they just didn't know. And so I kind of told them about, where Harvard was and how famous it was. And, it kind of went over their heads. And so I let that go. I came back. My wife said, well, how'd it go? I said, well, they just, they didn't know. And so that day finally came, and I jumped on an airplane in Knoxville, Tennessee, and flew down to Atlanta. If you live in my part of the country, you always have to go to Atlanta. I'm pretty sure when you die, you go to Atlanta. And so I get down to Atlanta, and I do that thing you do in Atlanta. I go to the next flight because it's a hub, and I go over the plane. Nice people at Delta upgraded me and gave me a first-class seat. And so I got on the plane and I sat down. Now, just so you'll know, if this ever happens, you're traveling around, you happen to get a seat next to me, you need to know this. You're not reading that book. It's a bad seat. But anyway, this guy sat down, and, I'm from the South, so I just can't go without saying something. So I said, well, good morning, how are you? And he said, I'm having an awesome day, just a really great day. And I said, that's cool. And he goes, well, you going to Boston? And in the back of my head, I thought, well, that's where the plane's going, and doesn't that make sense to you? And he goes, well, I guess that was a stupid question. Everybody on the plane's going to Boston. I said, well, I sure hope so. It'd be a surprise if we land in Cleveland. And he goes, well, I know you're going to Boston, but for business, for pleasure? I said, well, yeah. And he laughed and he said, so you must love your job. I said, oh, I do. What do you do? I said, well, I'm a speaker. And he goes, that is too cool. I mean, a speaker, you must really enjoy your work. I said, brother, I do. It's a great life. And he goes, well, so you're speaking? And boss, I said, well, actually, you can feel it. Can't you feel it? Because you know he knows, right? I mean, this ain't no, is that near Nashville? He knows. So I go, well, I'm actually speaking at the Harvard Graduate School of Business. And he goes, the symposium that's starting tomorrow? And I said, yeah. He goes, this is too odd. I'm going to that. I'm sitting with the keynote speaker. This is too cool. Now, folks, I've been doing what I do for 17 years. I've never sat next to somebody on an airplane that was going to go hear me speak. And this is just off the chart awesome. And the guy leans over, puts his hand on the little console between me and him, and he goes, so, I guess you went to Harvard. No, I have my undergraduate degree from the University of Tennessee. I have my master's from the University of Tennessee, and I have my PhD from the University of Southern Mississippi. And when I said that, he said this, oh. We all know, don't we know what that means? If you don't know, let me tell you, that means, well, if that's the best you could do, I mean, that's a good, okay, yes. I mean, he just shot me down. Can you see that? Now, I know this has happened to everybody in this room. Everybody in this room has come to work in a great mood. Something happens pretty fantastic in your life, and you share that with somebody, and they just kind of, they pee in your Wheaties. And we've all had that happen. As a matter of fact, it's almost like a predictability deal. Here's what happens. For the next day, you tell that story over and over. Well, I came in a good mood. I was really excited about this project or event, and so-and-so came in and just, shot me down. And then we tell that story over and over and over and over, and then magically on the second day, 24 hours after the event to the second, we add a phrase to our story, and it goes like this. Well, here is what I wish I had said. Are y'all with me? Because we think about what we could have said about 2 days later. Could have saved a great deal of misery. But do we think of it? No, we didn't think of it, so now we're thinking of it. Well, let me just tell you, I'm on this plane for 2 hours. I can get my happiness back. And it really came to me about an hour into the flight what I wanted to say to this guy, but I didn't want to peak too soon. Y'all understand, right? You can peak too soon, and gives them another chance to think about what they're going to say. And well, anyway, so I didn't want to do that, so I waited. I'm a patient guy, and he's reading his USA Today, and finally the plane's nose starts to dive. We're going to land at the airport. It's pretty obvious, ding dong, the tables go up, the seats come up. We're getting ready to land. And I lean over as this guy's folding up his USA Today, and I said, well, brother, we're getting ready to get off the plane. I won't be able to see you, of course, until tomorrow. But if it's okay with you, I'd like to ask a question. I think I already know the answer to it, but I'm going to ask anyway. I'd like to make a statement about that, and then I'd like to ask another question and then make another statement. Would that be okay? And he said, well, of course, that would be fine. I said, okay, first question, of which I think I already know the answer. You went to Harvard. He goes, oh, yeah, 73, like I really cared when the guy went. And I said, I thought so. So let me just take this opportunity to tell you, wow. I mean, I taught in the college. I know what that means. What a wonderful opportunity to be able just to look somebody in the eye and say, I went to Harvard. It's a game changer. It is the best door opener. Everybody knows the school. Everybody knows its tradition. It's a cool opportunity. And he said, well, I appreciate that. I said, well, now for my second question. I need to apologize right up front because I'm going to ask it in a Southern way. How many people I have in here from the South? If you're from the South, raise your hand. These are different people. If any one of these people have said to you during this conference, bless your heart, that's not a compliment. Ba- Basically, bless your heart means that's pretty stupid, just so you'll know. And so he said to me, he said, no, I've lived in Atlanta for 3 years. I said, that's not long enough. But I'm going to ask it in a southern way, and I certainly will back up and ask it in a more traditional way that maybe you will understand, but I think both of us will get to where I need to go. And he said, well, go ahead. I said, well, did you pay to go? Excuse me? Yeah, I didn't think you'd get that. Did you pay to go? Or did your mom and daddy pay your way? A rich uncle left you money, you got a scholarship, you managed to go through the whole thing without really lifting a finger, or like me, did you work your way through school? Go at night, support your family. You ever see somebody step on somebody's nerve? Just, you ever see that happen? Oh, I did the polka on his. He leaned over. I knew it upset him a bit because he took his finger out, and he looked at me and did this. Sir, I'll have you know I paid my way through school. I got no help. I'm the first person in my family to ever go to college. I paid to go to Harvard. I said, man, that's great, but they're paying me to come. See, when we want to make something personal, we're pretty good at it, aren't we? You know, when you come to me and you start, there's an old saying in the South, you can do anything you want to me, but don't do anything to my family. And it's the same way when you work with great people. You want to keep it on that personal level. Everything you do in life, you want to really hammer for one particular set of ways. And that's kind of why I'm here. I love my job, and I love being able to do it. And most people, when they hear me, and first thing I do is I open my mouth, usually you can see people in the audience lean over to each other and say, this is going to be good. He's from the South. Because we keep stuff simple. I mean, after all, we marry our relatives. But not on purpose. We get to talk in a couple of weeks after the wedding. You're Uncle Bobby's girl? We just didn't know. So I'm going to try to do that for you folks. I believe in keeping the Southern people over here going, yeah, that's the way we're doing. Bless their heart. What I want to do is I want to keep this on a real kind of simple level, because I believe simplicity is the best way when you want to attack something and when you want to grow, and when you start talking about excellence and you start talking about growth, you got to talk about the service. Because really and truly, ladies and gentlemen, that's the only thing that separates us from anybody else. It's the only thing that separates me from other speakers. It's the only thing that separates you in your line of business is what do we do on a personal level that really makes a difference? So I was thinking, I could come in and I could give you 7 things. I mean, I could give you a list of 7 things, sir, and you could write it down and you'd put it on a paper pad, wouldn't you? You'd write it down, but you wouldn't do it, would you, sir? I mean, let's be honest, you wouldn't do it. You'd think about doing it, but you wouldn't do it. Why? Because it's 7 things, Dale. Come on, I'm 1.2 person doing the job of 2.1 people. I don't have time for 7 new things. And who was that cough over here? Was that you cough, sir? Take care of that cough. I had a first cousin died from a cough just like that. He was under another man's bed at the time. If you'd like a good cure for the cough, sir, I got a great cure. It never fails. My grandmother gave me this cure. I use it all the time. You drink a gallon of prune juice straight down. You with me? And then you eat 4 boxes of prunes as fast as you can eat them. 3 bars of X-Lax. You can get them there at Rite. You'll still want to cough, but you'll catch yourself. You'll do this. I'm good. I'm good. Eases up the O-ring, you understand, right, sir? So let's keep this on a personal level. So that's maybe a little too personal, right? But what if we said, no, wait a minute, 7's too many. I understand that. Let's back off a little bit. Let's say 5. 5 things. If everybody in this room did these 5 things, we could go out of here and, I mean, we could capture the market. Yeah, that sounds good, Dale. Give us those. No, I'm not going to do that because you wouldn't do it. I could do 3. You wouldn't do 3. I could do 1. You wouldn't do 1. You wouldn't do it. I mean, you're used to guys like me coming in telling you how to do your job. And I know in the back of your mind you're thinking, he doesn't know anything about what we do. He's just some guy they hired to come in. Well, let me tell you, I do know a lot about what you do. You'd be surprised how much I know about what you do because you and I are in the same business. We really don't make anything. We sell a product. We provide a service. I can go to any one of your stores, and there's not a new car rolling out every 5 minutes. It's basically you're serving people, giving them their need. It's easy. It's simple commerce. So, okay, Dale, what are you going to do to help us? Well, I actually came to take 2 things away from you. I know that sounds kind of simplistic, but I told you that I was simple. What are you going to take away, Dale? Well, actually, I came to get you to really stop saying 2 things. That's it, Dale. You came that's pretty much it. And but be careful, because you're going to find yourself about 2 or 3 days, maybe today, and you're going to find yourself getting ready to say this, and you will catch yourself, and then you'll realize how many times you actually say it. See, the 2 things I came to get you to stop saying are in themselves pretty simple. They are as follows: never in your entire life ever look at another single solitary soul and say, hey, that's not my job. Never in your entire life ever look at another single solitary soul and say, I wish I had, and fill in the blank. Don't do that. It'll suck your life out. I mean, we've all seen this before, haven't we? People that we work with, well, I just love my job. Well, why don't you tell your face? Because looking like you were weaned on a pickle ain't getting it here. See, we have this misalignment problem. We have this real misalignment problem. And the misalignment problem we have is that most people are comfortable with saying things but aren't comfortable with doing them. For example, given the choice, sir, would you rather be optimistic or pessimistic? Optimistic, of course. Given the choice, sir, would you rather be a problem solver or a problem causer? Indeed. Given the choice, brother, would you rather be happy or constipated? Happy. I mean, everybody in this room would answer the same way, right? We want to be happy, optimistic, problem solvers. Right? This means yes where I live, right? Well, why aren't we happy, optimistic problem solvers? Let me tell you why. Because we love to whine. We love to whine. Don't we love to whine? Well, here we are. Kept us up all night listening to rock and roll. Made me drink. We now had to get up early, come listen to some guy yammer on for an hour. No, we love to whine. We just love it. Have you ever been with somebody who'd been in an organization for a long time and they do that phrase? You know the phrase I'm talking about, everybody does it. Well, I'm just a little burnt out. You ever hear that? I'm just a little burnt out. So you have my permission next time you hear that. Just look them in the eye and go, I don't think you've ever been lit. We say things we really don't mean. I mean, how many times has somebody said, well, thank you very much, and you said, well, it's the least I can do. Well, why bother? And then you're bragging about it, right? Well, it's the least I can do. Could have done a lot more, but I just did the least. I've done research on this. The least you can do is lay on the ground naked and breathe. I pretty much believe that's the least you can do. And I've seen some of you, and I don't want to see that. I don't want to see it. See, we need to make sure that when we come up with philosophies, things that keep it on a personal level so that we can do what it is that we do best, we need to understand that the underlying things that keep us from doing that are the simple things that we need to stop doing. Never say it's not my job. Never say I wish I had. Now, all of you have been shopping. All of you have probably shopped in stores, and you walk in and you had a list, but you're just walking the aisles and somebody comes up to you. You don't know them. You don't know who they are. They just walk up and they say, "Excuse me, you know where the bread is? I'm looking for baby diapers. You wouldn't happen to know where I can get a battery." I mean, it happens all the time. People across this country, they don't know who to ask. They just ask anybody, first person they see. But you know what? Statistically, 8 out of 10 times when you ask somebody who doesn't work at a place, who's just a customer there, and you say, "Where's the so-and-so?" Here's the answer you'll get. "Well, I don't work here." Does anybody know what that's a substitute for? That's not my job. Now, here's the magic of this. Does anybody know what the substitute for "that's not my job" is? It's pretty crucial, actually. And it gets down to the cultural level on a personal basis. And what it really means is, you know what? I got other things to do than to serve you. That's really what it means. I was a short kid. I know you can't tell that because I'm on the stage right now. It's like a tower over you. But I was a short kid growing up. And growing up, I was a really good basketball player in the 8th grade. All my friends grew, and I just kind of bottomed out. And I went to high school, and I walked up to the high school basketball coach, and I said, "You know what, Coach, I'm ready to play." And he took one look at me, and he said, "Well, son, come back when you're a sophomore. You've had a chance to grow a little bit, and, I'll consider you." That's just a terrible thing to tell a kid that really is excited about a sport. So I thought, no big deal. I'll go play football, weighed 115 pounds. Coach looked at me and said, "Son, they'll break you in half. Why don't you grow a little bit, come back in your sophomore year?" And I went home and I sat on the front porch of my grandfather's house. And I was raised on a farm in East Tennessee. I came out and my grandfather could see I was very upset. And he said, "What's wrong, son?" I said, "Well, I tried out for basketball and they said I was too short, tried out for football and they said I was too little." My grandfather said the strangest thing. He said, "Stand up, let me take a look at you, son. It's been a while since I really took a look at you." And I stood up. He said, "Turn around, let me see. Just do a little spin there for me." And I thought, well, how silly is this? And I spun around a couple of times, and he goes, "Yeah, that's what I thought. You're a baseball player. You look like a baseball player to me." And I'm thinking, this man never watched baseball. How would he know that? He said, "I think you should try baseball." Now, I'm a kid. We, as boys, men in here, we all played baseball at some time or other, but usually it was just, a pickup game in the back field somewhere. I said, "Well, and I called my grandfather Boss, and I said, 'Boss, I've never played baseball, like organized.' And he goes, 'Well, it's pretty much the same, son.' He said, 'I'll tell you what, you go in school, we'll talk about it when you get back tomorrow.'" Now, while I was gone to school, my grandfather took a tractor, mound up a big mound of dirt. I don't even know where he got this information. There was no Google. There was no place you could get it on the internet. He marched off the paces, and there was an old shed on our farm that had 2 cherry trees, one on each side. He hung a basket between those 2 cherry trees at the appropriate height, cut the bottom out of this bushel basket, and on that mound were 3 dozen baseballs that he'd bought me at Mosier's sporting goods store in Maryville, Tennessee. He said, "Now, son, your job when you come home from school, you don't have to worry about chores. I'll take care of your chores. Here's your job. You're going to go out on that mound, and you're going to pitch those baseballs to the bottom of that basket. Until it gets so dark, you can't do it anymore. And you'll be doing that until baseball tryouts," which was about almost 3.5 months. And every day I came home, and every day I stood on that mound, and every day I threw baseballs. My grandmother would bring my dinner out to me. I did not get off that mound other than to go to the bathroom. And I threw baseballs to the bottom of a bushel basket. Now, my grandfather would sit there backwards on an old ladder-back chair, and every time a baseball would go through that basket without touching the sides or making it move, I would get the best motivational presentation I've ever heard. It went like this. "Yep." I mean, it fired me up in my very soul. And I want you to know something. In 3.5 months, I got really good at throwing a ball through the bottom of a bushel basket. I mean, I was really good at that. I mean, I I mean, you wouldn't have wanted to have that little deal at the fair. I would have taken all the little bunnies you had. So I showed up, try out for baseball. If you've done this as a kid, you know what I'm talking about. 60 kids show up, 59 of them think they're pitchers. And I thought I was a pitcher. And the coach broke us up into little groups of 10. I was the second one in the second group, and I got out on the mound. He didn't even look at me. I remember him saying, let's see what you got, son. And I just started throwing balls. Now, amazing thing to me is when that hind catcher squatted down behind that plate and put up that mitt, you know what it looked like? It looked like the bottom of a bushel basket to me. I started throwing balls. I remember after about the fourth pitch, the hind catcher stood up, took his glove off, and he said, you know, you don't have to throw them that fast. We're just practicing. That's when I got the coach's attention. He watched me throw the next 15 pitches with one hand in those chain link fence. The next 15, two hands in the chain link fence. And then I heard this from behind the catcher's mouth. Let me see your curveball, son. Now, y'all know what I've been doing for 3.5 months, right? Throwing a ball through the bottom of a bushel basket. I didn't know how to throw a curveball. My grandfather didn't know how to teach me to throw a curveball. He said was to throw it through the basket, son, it'll work. So I stood in a little different way through another 5 or 6 pitches. He said, how about your changeup? You got a pretty good changeup, slider maybe? I just turned a little different way, threw the ball the same way. He walked out on the mound and spit at my feet. I remember it's the first time anybody ever spit at my feet in a baseball game. He looked at me and said this, I want you to pitch for me, boy. But we're going to spend the next 3 weeks working on your fastball. I said, Coach, fastball's my best pitch. He said, it's your only pitch, son. But we're going to make it your best pitch. But you know what he taught me that day? He taught me that if we do something well, we shouldn't spend a whole lot of collateral time trying to get better at stuff we aren't good at. Because you know what practice makes, right? Permanent. You keep doing it the same way, you're just going to get worse at it. See, we've got to stick to what it is that we do best, taking care of the customer, excellence. We've got to stick to our core. We've got to talk about how we can do these things to make ourselves grow. Never say it's not my job. Never say, I wish I had. Now, a lot of you are staying in hotels, of course, because you're out of town. I want you to go to your room tonight. If you're not, wherever you go, when you go home, go home, get in your bathroom door, shut the door, lock it. You don't want anybody seeing you do this because it looks pretty stupid. But I want you to lay your cell phone down on the sink. I want you to look yourself in the eye in the mirror there in your bathroom. I want you to take your hands. I want you to take them palms up, shoulder high, just like this right here. And I want you to see how long you can stand like that. Well, you'll stand that way 5, 6, 7 minutes. And you'll probably say, Dale's laughing at me right now. I'm doing this, and he's laughing at me. No, I'm not laughing at you. You can do it as long as you want to, basically. Go on to bed, have a good night's rest, get up tomorrow, do what it is you got to do, and come back home, lock that door again. Put that cell phone back down there, set the timer on, look yourself in the eye, and this time, palms down. Small difference, this from this. Let me tell you what's going to happen to you in about 1 minute and 10 seconds. Your hands are going to start shaking. And then about 20 more, 30 more seconds, your hands are going to start to drop. I mean, you'll want to keep them up, but they'll start dropping. You'll arch your back just to keep them in the same position. And unless you're very well physically conditioned, about 2 minutes, you're going to drop your arms. And when you do, it's going to feel like you've been carrying boxes all day long. And you go, Dale, I don't get it. I can do this as long as I want, but I can only do this for 2 minutes. Well, what's the difference? Oh, my goodness, people. It's the way we were made. We were made to serve and never tire. But when we become a taker, you wear out. You'll wear out in a hurry. Oh, you'll still have a good career, don't get me wrong, everything will be just fine. But you'll hate your job, and you'll hate coming to it. Because if you can't do that fundamental thing, if you can't serve people with a smile on your face and a song in your heart, it's going to be a long road to hoe, as we say in the South. Never say it's not my job. Never say I wish I had. I was in Scottsdale, Arizona. Anybody here been to Scottsdale? Scottsdale? Yeah? Anybody ever been there in August? They got a phrase they use there in Scottsdale in August. It's hot, but it's a dry heat. So's a blowtorch. But I don't want to live while somebody throws one at me, you know what I'm saying? I was there in Scottsdale doing a program for the Marriott Corporation, the people that were in their nice hotel today. Got through standing in the lobby. I don't know if you've ever been to Camelback where I was. Beautiful hotel, not like this hotel, all under one roof. Little bungalows spread everywhere. Standing there looking out at the beautiful surroundings around that beautiful resort. A guy walks up behind me, taps me on the shoulder. How you doing? Doing good, doing good. Need somebody to carry my luggage. Okie dokie. Now, we got to break this down to its fundamental element here. Got to make it personal. Did the man ask me if I worked at the Marriott? No, he didn't. Did he ask me if I was a porter? No. What did he say? I need help. Pretty fundamental, easy question, right? People walk in your stores all the time. You can tell when they need help. They got that look on their face. They just don't know where they need to go. And that's when we need to make it personal with them. We need to get down to where we really do the business. The 3-foot rule. 3 feet in front of somebody, you really got to tell them what you do. And you got to make them love what you do as much as you love it. Now, there's a lot of people probably work with you that you hope don't get to do the 3-foot rule because they really suck at what they do. We all know they're out there, but they just are. But we need to retrain those people. We need to rekindle their spirit. So I started following this guy to his little bungalow. Learned 2 things that day in Scottsdale, Arizona. Thing number 1, it's hot. Hot in Scottsdale, 118 degrees that day. Second thing I learned is why they call a blue jacket a blazer. And I get to his little bungalow. He opens the door. He's in golf attire, shorts, golf shirt. Opens up the door to the biggest piece of luggage I've ever seen in my entire life. No rollers, had to be carried. And I picked him up and I said, oh, great. Guy sells bricks for a living. This is good. And I start walking back. Now, if you've never been to Scottsdale, especially in August, you do not sweat in Scottsdale. I live in the South. We sweat in the South. Ladies don't sweat. They glow. But I was sweating. Now, when you sweat in the South, you sweat. Sweat runs down your face. It drips off your nose. You don't sweat in Scottsdale. What happens in Scottsdale is you get these little teeny little things that pop out on your forehead. They go, little moisture bubbles. And then they go, because there's absolutely no moisture there. And you get little sparkles on your forehead, which the life essence being sucked from your body. But if you got a place like your hair where they can't get to it, and it makes its way to your forehead, and it makes your way to, that sweat makes its way to your eye, it's like battery acid. And I got a dribble of sweat, makes it to, whoa! Of course, I got both hands full. We get about 100 yards from the entranceway of the lobby, and he goes, you wouldn't happen to know the time, would you? Now, I love playing this game. I'm going to suggest to you that this is a fun game. You need to play it more often. I talk to myself. You ever do that? I mean for entertainment. See, I can be very, I love sarcasm. I mean, to me, it's just hilarious. It's not real funny to the people I aim it at, but it's real fun for me. So I found that if I just say it to myself, it works for me. So when he said, you wouldn't happen to know the time, would you? In my mind, I'm going, yeah, let me just grow a 3rd arm. I'll put a watch on it for you. So I set the luggage down. I looked at my watch. I said, yes, sir, it's 15 minutes till the hour. He said, great. You wouldn't happen to know what time the shuttle runs, do you? I said, yes, sir. It runs in 15 minutes. I know because I'm on it. You don't work here? No. Why are you carrying my luggage? Because you asked me. Who are you? My name's Dale Henry. I'm a speaker. I travel all over the country, about 180 cities a year. On very, very, very special occasions, I tell people the 2 things I never say. Never say it's not my job. Never say I wish I had. And he goes, wow, I love that. Can we talk about that? I said, when we get in the lobby where the air conditioner is, we can do anything you want to do. But I am dying right here. Made a new friend that day. You might have heard of a little company called GTE. Changed their name. They're Verizon now. He is the executive vice president of sales for this company. I've done many programs for him. And all of a sudden, it starts to hit me that he did not hire me because I was a good porter. He didn't hire me because I did something nice. Service isn't doing something nice. Serving is serving. It's saying, I'm here. Play me or trade me. I was over in Miami, Florida. I love Miami, Florida. I was there doing a program, 3,500 salespeople. I love salespeople. They're like Cocker Spaniel, short attention span. Lots of energy. You can walk into a group of salespeople and go, oh, and they have no idea why they're happy. They're just happy. And I was so looking forward to the presentation. I mean, I love doing what I do. And my wife dresses me. Now, obviously, I don't mean she comes and puts my clothes on. She tells me what to wear. And after 38 years of marriage, I can tell you without any problem that in married life, you can be right or you can be happy. But you can't be both, can you? So my wife picks out my clothes for me, and I appreciate that. I appreciate the fact that she picks out my clothes for me. And, I was thinking as I, picked up my clothes, I kind of think about where I am, in the world, and I think, well, I'm in Miami, which is south of where I live, but it is not southern. It took a big hunk of New Jersey, strapped it to the state. And I reach in to get the tie that my wife had picked out for me, and she'd picked out for me to wear a cat in the hat tie. My wife's an educator. It made sense to her. And I'm standing there thinking, I've got a pretty deep southern accent. I'm standing in Miami, which is not southern, and I'm going to be wearing a cat in the hat tie. And I can see the sign lighting up, goober. And of course, I wanted to offer value. I wanted to give these people something they could take home. And I said, this tie is not going to be part of the package. And I went downstairs to a little store called Nick, a little men's store, and I walked inside, and I was just blown away that they had 38 short suits. I mean, wow. I wear 38 short. 38's kind of hard to find because it's, I'm a little guy. And I get so tired of going into men's stores. You have anything in my size? And they go, Buster Brown, right over here. We got a whole bunch of them. A little blue suit over there you could wear. So when I find something my size, it really just kind of energizes me. So I'm going over and I'm just like a kid in a candy store. I mean, this guy's like 50 suits in my size. And I'm going through and I'm looking at him, and a guy starts hovering. Now there's a big difference between helping and hovering. Do you know the difference? Hovers just hover. Helpers help. This guy's hovering, and hoverers always get the same thing with me. I just try to find them something else to do. So I turned around and I looked at the guy and I said, hey, how you doing? He said, I'm doing good, doing real good, and he needs somebody to mark my slacks. There's nobody there but me. I said, okay. In the immortal words of Larry the Cable Guy, let's get her done. And so I walked over and I started marking this man's pants. Now time out just for a second. Put myself through college doing this. I'm not suggesting you leave here, go to a men's store, ruin somebody's slacks to make yourself feel good. I'm saying that if you don't know what to do, when someone asks you what to do, it's not an excuse not to do it. What you do is you find them the person that they need, you find them the information they need, and then you say the most powerful phrase in the human language, what else can I do just for you? Now, all of us have been asked, what can I do for you? But what can I do just for you? That's different. So I'm marking this man's pants. I know what I'm doing. I'm just marking away, and I didn't see this guy, but all of a sudden there's a guy standing over here. He's just watching. Didn't offer to help. Never once said, can I get that for you? Hey, I'll do that. Just watch me do the whole process. I got done. The guy stepped down. He said, man, that's a good-looking job. I said, thank you, sir. Take pride in my work. Looked over at this guy, his arms came uncrossed, and I saw the big name tag. It said Israel on it. Israel worked there at Nick's. Guy went up. I started turning around and started looking at this suit again. I kind of liked the suit. I was looking at the suit, and all of a sudden, a pair of slacks flop over my arm. He said, I'm ready to check out. I said, okie dokie. He put his credit card in my hand. I walked over to Israel. I said, Israel, will you check my customer out for me? He said, you betcha. Went up to the front of the store, rang up the sale, came back to me, said, got 2 questions for you. Number 1, who are you? Number 2, do you always mark strange men's pants? I said, Israel, I'm a speaker. My name's Dale Henry. I travel all over the country on very, very special occasions. I tell people the 2 things I never say. Never say it's not my job. Never say I wish I had. He said, man, that's awesome. Can we sit down and talk about that? I said, I'd love to. And we sat down and we shared for a couple minutes. He said, now, Dr. Henry, you didn't come in here to teach me something. You came in here because you need something. What do you need? I said, you see this tie? He said, yeah. I said, I pretty much hate that tie. He said, me too. I said, I need a tie that says, ow! I need a tie that says hubba hubba. I need a tie that says hootie, hootie hoo. He said, I got that tie. And he did something that in my entire life I have never seen done. He reached his finger in behind my lapel, felt the material of my jacket, and said, I know just the tie. Back and forth, he ran his eyes in this beautiful tie cabinet. Not looking for a tie, looking for the tie. He took it out, wrapped it around his finger, held it to my neck. He said, what do you think about that tie? I said, more importantly, because I didn't even look down at it, I said, more importantly, what I think, what do you think? He said, that's a hootie-hoo tie. I said, you just sold the tie. He sprayed that tie with Scotch Guard. I've never seen that done. Dried it with a hairdryer. Put it in a box, wrapped it in tissue. I did the thing, you know the thing, getting that wallet out. He goes, your money's no good here. Thanks for the lesson. Ties on the house. Felt pretty special. Went upstairs, threw that tie on the bed. My wife had been swimming with the girls. She came over, she opened up the tie, she pulled the tie out. Well, well, well. Don't we feel special? What? Oh, anyone who just went out and bought a $125 tie should feel real special. I said, a man gave me that tie. She didn't believe me either. I said, that's okay, because that's my story, and I'm pretty much sticking to it. Put on my tie, went down to do my program that day. I love my job. That's a common theme you're going to hear me say, because I do. I absolutely love what I do. And when I got through speaking to 3,500 salespeople, they must have enjoyed it too, because they did not applaud. They did not stand and applaud. They jumped up in chairs. A couple of them jumped up on the tables. You know, they're not that smart. They're salespeople. But we had a great day. And I left that room with all the enthusiasm that they had, and came back and got my girls, put on my Bermuda shorts. It's hard to come out and say this, but it's part of my 12-step thing. I'm addicted. I have an addiction. I have to deal with it. It's something I have to deal with. I have to admit my addictions. Ben & Jerry's. Chunky Monkey. The only thing wrong with a pint of Ben & Jerry's Chunky Monkey is that's not a serving. 6 servings. That's like a spoonful. Now, 1 pint has 7,000 grams of calories, but I mean, it's okay. So we go down to get us some Chunky Monkey, and I walk by Nick's, expecting it to be closed. And as I walked by, this is what I heard. Dr. Henry, wait, right. I just kind of froze. And he comes out with a garment bag, and he unzips that garment bag, and he opens it up, and here's this beautiful camel hair, gorgeous jacket, brass button, my size 38 short. I said, you know, I don't recall seeing that jacket. I'm pretty sure I looked at everything in the store that was in my size. I don't remember seeing that jacket. That's a gorgeous jacket. He said, yeah, I know. I was holding it in the back for a lawyer. He can find another one. This jacket belongs to you. And then I understood what he was doing. And, you know, I appreciate this. I really do. I mean, when you do something that's on a personal level, you know how people are going to react to it, right? They're going to react on a personal level. And he said, I insist that you take this jacket. And I said, ADD boy, you can't be giving away merchandise and stay in business. You gave me a $125 tie. Israel, I have never owned a $125 tie. He said, well, we mark them up. I said, that doesn't matter. You can't give me this jacket. This is a gorgeous jacket. I mean, Israel, you could lose your job, dude. He said, I can't lose my job, Dr. Henry. My middle name is Nick. I own this store. 19 others just like it up and down the coast. And if you think you're getting this jacket because you taught an old salesperson to love what they do, again, if you think you're getting this jacket because you taught me never to say it's not my job, never to say I wish I had, you would be dead wrong. You are going to take this jacket. You are going to enjoy it because this morning across at the convention center, you spoke to 3,500 salespeople. And today after lunch, 750 of them came to my store. Every one of those men and women wanted to know the same thing. Did he really mark that man's pants? There was a sign on the pants that I marked in the front of the store, the pants that Dr. Henry marked. He said, today I sold 450 suits. I lost track of sports coats, ties, socks, underwear, shoes, belts. Single best day in 21-year history of Nick's. And I did it all by myself. But you see, that's not the way my day started, Dr. Henry. You see, my 3 managers and my 6 employees all decided to come down with the flu the same weekend. And we had decided pretty much to close the store, and I made the statement that we've never closed a store in Nick's history, and we're not going to start now. I will go down and keep the store open. And he said, I opened the store up, but I just stayed in the back, hoping nobody would come in. And then you came in. And you started marking people's pants. And I stood there and I watched you. I watched the joy that you had, knowing full well that you did not work here. That was not your thing. And knowing that I didn't want to do it made it worse. What a great lesson you taught me today, Dr. Henry. What a great lesson I'm going to take back to my company. Service. We can't live without it. And our customers will not give us business unless we do it. I took the jacket. Bless his heart. I went up to my room. I love my wife. My wife and I have been married 38 years, going on 39 years, and I'm very blessed to have my wife. She was arm candy when I married her, and she's still arm candy today. I love Deborah. And she's a wonderful person. She says things sometimes that just, most people ask me, you know, how do you stay married to somebody that long and keep the spark and all that stuff there? And I just tell them, I said, my wife's the most entertaining person I've ever met in my entire life. She's just so entertaining. I mean, every day is an adventure with my wife. I was going to the Walmart one day, and she sent me down there to get a couple things, and I'm pulling into the Walmart parking lot, and my cell phone rings. I answer. I said, hello, and Deb goes, did you forget your cell phone? Oh, this is just too good to let go. I said, you know, I think I did. I think I forgot it. Well, where do you think you put it? Look around on the island in the kitchen. I believe that's where I laid it. And I can hear her in there scratching around, you know. No, I think it's on my bureau in the bedroom, and I can hear her walk through. No, it's not there. Well, how am I going to tell you what I need? I said, let's just use this mental thing we got going right now. Yeah, it seems funny now. Wasn't that funny when I got home, though? Yeah. I was in Denver, Colorado a couple years ago. My wife calls me on the phone and she goes, "The commode's making a funny noise." I said, "Videotape it." She said, "Why would I videotape it?" I said, "We'll send it to that show. You know, they pay lots of money for funny stuff." And she goes, "Oh, no, not ha-ha funny, funny strange." I go, "Oh, don't videotape it. They hardly ever pay anything for ha-ha, not funny." And she said, "Well, what should I do?" I said, "Well, which commode is it?" She said, "It's the one in our bedroom, in our master bedroom." I said, "Well, are you in there?" She said, "No, I'm not." I said, "Well, just go to the room." So I can hear her walking through the house. She gets to the bathroom. She said, "Okay, I'm in the bathroom." I said, "Are you near the commode?" She walks through. I'm near the commode. I said, "Well, take the phone and put it down next to the commode." And she said, "Why?" And I said, "Because I'm going to talk to the commode." And she said, "Well, what good would that do?" I said, "Exactly. I'm in Denver." Yeah. That didn't go over well either when I got home. But this one's my favorite one, though. I like this one most of all. This is my favorite thing. I'm one of these really considerate people, you know, like I'm over considerate, really. And when I come home 2 o'clock in the morning, I don't wake my wife up, so I turn my cell phone on. I use the flashlight. You ever do that? And then I just, come in and I lay it down, and I get undressed, put on my clothes for the bed, and I crawl into bed, and I go to sleep. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. Don't wake my wife up because, she can't go back to sleep. She wakes up 2 o'clock in the morning. She's like all the rest of us. But no, hey, when Deb gets up, hey, it's a different rule. All the lights come on. She's banging around in the bedroom, walks to the foot of the bed, looks at me and says this, "Are these your clothes?" And I'm going, if they're not, when I wake up, we're going to talk. But my wife is so wonderful, and she says to me, she said, "Honey, explain to me one more time, what are you going to do?" And I said, "Well, I'm flying out of Miami. I'm going to Nashville. I'm doing a program for Ace Hardware. I'm doing their conference, and then I'm driving home, and I'll be home until Friday." She said, "You don't have anything till Friday?" I said, "No." She said, "Well, I'm driving up to see my sister. We'll be home on Wednesday." "This is silly. Don't take your luggage. Just leave it with me. We'll put it in the back of the car, and we'll drive it home. That way you won't have to use it. You just get in your car in Nashville and drive home." I said, "Wow, I love this because I hate carrying luggage." I have to carry luggage because, if you don't, it's going to get lost. And, after about 4 days, it's just that smell. It's not nice. This isn't far enough. Trust me, brother. This is not far enough. And so I said, "That's a great idea." So I put on my suit and I walk over to the airport. I just feel so wonderful just walking in with nothing but a little carry-on bag. It was great. And I get on the plane and actually waiting to get on the plane, and I'm sitting next to this military kid, this little gunnery sergeant in the Marines, and he's talking to his mom on the cell phone. Now, I'm not an eavesdropper, but I couldn't help but hear the conversation. He was right next to me. And he was telling his mom that, he was a little concerned. He was getting ready to go to Afghanistan, but he was coming home for 2 weeks, and he was going to ask his girlfriend to marry him. And I just was sitting there just smiling, going, "Man, that's awesome." I spent 27 years in the Tennessee Air National Guard, and I thought, wow, that's just so cool. So anyway, I get on the plane, and I'm waiting on this little gunnery sergeant to get on the plane. I'm sitting in 2B because Delta had been nice enough to give me a first-class seat. I really don't like first-class seats that much because my feet dangle. It's like sitting on a handicapped commode. You understand, brother, what it's like. You got to bear down, and you can't touch the floor. You can't bear down. And you're wondering how I knew that, but I can tell you bared down. I'm right, brother? You know I'm right? That's a bear down boy if I've ever seen one right there. So I'm sitting there in my first class seat waiting on this little gunnery sergeant to come on the plane. He comes on the plane. I stand up in front of him, and I go, hey, gosh, I'm sorry. I feel bad about this. And he goes, "Excuse me, sir?" I said, "I got your seat by mistake, but if you'll give me your boarding pass, I'll go back and we'll fix it right here." And he goes, "No, sir, that's not my seat." And I go, yeah, it is. Just give me your boarding pass now." And he figured out what I was trying to do because I was trying to give him my first-class seat. And he goes, "Sir, you don't have to do that. I'm fine where I'm sitting. I appreciate it." I said, No, son, you're going to sit here." I said, "You know anything about the Air Force?" He said, yeah, I know quite a bit about the Air Force. I said, you know anything about Air Force rank? He said, sure, I know about Air Force rank. I said, you know what a Chief Master Sergeant is? He said, oh, yes, sir, I know exactly what a Chief Master Sergeant is. That's an E9. I said, that's right. I said, you know what they call Chief Master Sergeants in the Air Force? He said, yes, sir, God. And I said, are you trying to tell God he don't know what he's talking about? Because I'm a retired Chief Master Sergeant, son. He said, no, sir, here's my, I said, well, set your little skinny butt right there. And I took his boarding pass. It was the worst seat on the plane. I was sitting between two guys when they moved. It was, you've been in those seats, I know you have. Sitting between two sumo wrestlers, and thank goodness they didn't have that rope. That rope is, can you imagine what that's like? Can you bend over and pick, you know, it's, and then somebody grabs it while you're wrestling? That's just not right. Anyway, enough for those pictures. It's a little personal there. So I'm sitting, and we take off, and this one guy leaves, which I was just really happy because it gave me an opportunity to move over the aisle. And I see this little girl. I wouldn't have seen this little girl had he not left. And she's so pretty. I'm partial to little girls. I have two of them. I have a little granddaughter, Kaylee. I love her. She's so sweet. But anyway, I'm sitting there, and I started talking to this little girl. Her name was Sandra. And I said, Sandra, you going to Nashville? She said, yeah. I said, well, I'll tell you what, we're going to be sitting on this plane a long time. Let's play I Bet I Know Where You've Been, and I Bet I Know Where You're Going. She said, I've never heard of that game. I said, I know, I just made it up. But it sounds like fun. Let's try it. I bet you've been to the beach. She said, no. I said, I bet you've been down here to see old Mickey, I bet. Mickey? No. Didn't go to Orlando? No. Down here visiting relatives, I'll bet. Down here visiting relatives? No. Going to Nashville to hear country music? No. Live in Nashville? No. Visiting someone in Nashville? No. This game's not that much fun, is it? It's one of those sucky games. I said, well, where are you going, Sandra? So I'm going to Vanderbilt Hospital. I have leukemia, and I've been going for the last 10 months. I go every 10 days, and my doctor says I'm better. This is the last time I'm going to have to come. I said, that's awesome. That's so cool. I'm so happy for you. You fly as much as I do, Sandra. I guess you like to fly. She said, no. I said, why not? She said, I get sick. I said, oh, your belly gets woozy when the plane bumps. She said, no, I puke. I said, every time you fly, you puke? She said, yes. Every time you're on the plane, while you're on the plane, you toss your cookies on the plane. Yeah, every time, yeah. 27 years in the Tennessee Air National Guard. I've never been sick on a plane. Have my own plane. I've never been sick. Only one thing makes me sick. To see somebody else get sick. We're on a plane together, brother. You toss your goods, my goods are going to be right on top of yours. I mean, we're going to be there doing the old trading the car. Buick, I mean, you know. Now, a lot of you have forgotten this part of the story. I need to remind you. Where's my clothes? I'm wearing the only suit I got. Can't see you people in the back, but if I'd puked on this suit, y'all would know it. You turn to people next to you, he puked on that suit. High karate won't cover that smell. That's a stinking stink right there. So in my mind, I did this, and I bet you every one of us have. You know, that's not my little girl. She's got a mama. Her mama take care of her. See, it's one thing to say it's not my job, but it's another thing to say I wish I had, and then fill in the blank. A lot of us are living I wish I had lives, laying in bed at night, watching the shadows of the things we did not do circle the bed around us. Not me. If I see it, it gets done. My wife hates this. I can go to sleep in mid-sentence. You sleep so good. I said, I got no issues with the day. I give the day exactly what it requires. Irma Bombeck said it best. She said, I would hate to die and meet God with my gift bucket half full. We need to make sure we drain every drop out of that gift bucket. We take care of people. That's all we do, folks. We don't make anything. We just take care of people. Let's keep it personal. I'm a fidgeter. You probably noticed that as I was up here talking. My hands have been in my pocket. I've been spinning my cell phone. That's what I do. I spin it while I'm talking. This particular day, I had a penny in my pocket. I don't even know how I got through security with it. I took the penny out, but when I'm working the penny, here's what's going through my mind. I said, this little girl, oh man, if she, I'm going to, and then the person next to me, and we'll be riding a tube through the sky. And I don't know what came over me. I'll be honest with you. I don't even know what to attribute this to. I just looked at this little girl's mom, and I said, you mean to tell me as many times you've been on an airplane, many times you've flown, many times you've been back and forth from Nashville to Florida, you've never sat next to somebody who'd been in the military like me that knew the secret of the penny. Her mama leaned forward and said, the secret of what? I said, the secret of the penny, ma'am. Anybody who spent any time in the military knows the secret of the penny. She said, I've never heard of such a thing. I said, oh yeah, you take a shiny penny like this, put it behind your left ear. It's a chemical reaction to copper in the bloodstream, causes the inner ear to bounce out and you won't get sick. Now, her mama knew that was the biggest bunch of poo-poo caca she'd ever heard in her entire life. But little Sandra snatched that penny out of my hand, put it behind her left ear, and all the way to Nashville, she never even burped. Beat me 10 straight games of crazy eights, and I do believe that little booger was cheating. Couldn't catch her. We get there, and I stand up, and she says, here's your penny. I said, no, you take that penny, and you use it on the way home. She bounced off that plane. Can't make me mad. Oh, trust me, I can tell you that for sure. Delta tried yesterday. I believe they got a squad of people. They go, let's get him today. What do you think? Can't make me mad. Just not in my nature. I'll tell you one thing, though. I have been upset. There's one thing. I guess it's kind of, I've really never talked about this, but it's one thing I get upset when people don't say a phrase to me. They say it to a lot of people, and they've never said it to me. Nobody has ever looked at me and said this, watch your head. I get on airplanes all the time. Watch your head, sir. Sir, watch your head. Watch your, look, you're all right. Come on, you're all right. Watch your head. But I want you to hear real close. Just make sure you understand this. When I got off that 737 in Nashville, Tennessee, had to watch my head. Does everybody understand? Let me first tell you what I didn't come for so I can better explain to you what I did come for. I didn't come here to teach you how to dress for success. I didn't come here to tell you something that you can go back and you can fail doing. I came to keep this so simple that everybody can get it, but we need to pass it on. And there's a reason. There's an innate reason why. Sir, you have any children? How many children, sir? 2 boys. What's your name, sir? Thomas. Thomas, I commit to you, I promise you, right here in front of all these people, that if your 2 boys, if I ever run into them on the road and they need something, I'll take care of them. Now, Thomas, that requires something. You are required to take care of my 2 daughters. And here's the interesting thing about that, Thomas. You and I both agree to that, right? But there's no way we'll ever know who they are. So what you and I are bound to do is take care of everybody. Never say it's not my job. Never say I wish I had. Big guy sitting next to me. Remember the sumo wrestler? He looks over at me and says this, hey, dude. I love being called dude. He says, hey, dude. I spent 28 years in the Marines. Nobody ever told me the secret of the penny. I said, bless your heart. See, the secret of the penny is the secret of life. Water at 211 degrees, it's hot, but you got to bump it 1 degree to get it to boil. I've seen the Kentucky Derby run hundreds of times. It's never been won by a lap. It's always won by the smallest of margins. See, while you all are here, Your competitors are out there. They're trying their best to get your business. Right now. They're at a conference. Get them, get them, get them. I taught my dad this lesson. I'll teach it to you. My dad, he retired. He took up the mantle of feeding birds. My dad would go through 25 pounds of bird seed a week. Feeding birds. Loved the birds. Loved birds. Took pictures of birds. Hated squirrels. Hated squirrels. He said a squirrel is just a rat with a good PR guy. And he worked diligently to buy, he would spend $50, $75 on a squirrel-proof bird feeder. And the next day he'd be out there cursing them because they got in. And I'm sitting on the back porch once with my dad, and I said, Dad, just out of curiosity, how much time do you just set aside to keep the squirrels out of the bird food? He said, I don't know, son, 15, 20 minutes a day. I said, Dad, they're thinking about it 24/7. And until you're willing to give that kind of dedication, they're going to get in. See, it's easy to sit here and have me tell you these things. But now I'm challenging you. You got to go spread the word. You got to tell others. Never say it's not my job. Never say I wish I had. Because that's the way it is. In 1979, culmination of a dream for me. I am the first person in my family to graduate from high school, first person to graduate from college, first one to get a master's, first one to get a PhD. But I graduated from high school, not at the top of my class. I graduated 202 out of 212. They didn't rank them backwards, but thanks for thinking that way. I was sitting in an assembly as I wrap up my presentation today. I was sitting in an assembly like you are sitting in right now with all of my classmates, and my superintendent of schools was up here at the front. And we all were sitting there. Teachers lined the sides of the walls. And our superintendent said this, ladies and gentlemen, there have been 2 students in this auditorium today that have never missed a day of school from kindergarten to the 12th grade. Quite a feat. Martha Odell, would you please come down front? And I could hear the teachers who were lined up on the sides of the auditorium whispering to each other, what a blessed child. She was so wonderful. How blessed. Dale Henry, God, that boy was here every day. I single-handedly kept prayer in Blount County schools. Every teacher every day would go, God, let that boy be sick today. My principals all liked me, though. I think secretively, every one of my principals I ever had wanted to adopt me. I can remember walking in the hall and hearing them under their breath go, I wish you were mine just for a day. Touching. But I went up that day and I received my award. Now, please try to remember that I had heard my whole life from my mom and dad, just finish, son. Just finish. My mom and dad set the bar so low I could crawl under it. Just finish, son. Never once did my mom say anything about my grades. Never once did my dad try to inspire me. They said, son, we never finished, just finish. Oh, my life was laid out before me. I knew when I graduated I was going to go to work for Alcoa Aluminum Company in Alcoa, Tennessee. My grandfather worked there. My dad worked there. I knew they'd already talked to shop foreman. I knew I was getting a job. I knew exactly what I was getting ready to do. And then Miss Johnson came along, spoiled all that for me. After the superintendent got through, Miss Johnson came up. She was our high school counselor. Never really met Miss Johnson. I'd seen her around school, but I didn't know what she did. She said, ladies and gentlemen, those of you in the senior class, I'm going to call you all in one by one over the next 2 weeks, and I'm going to ask you a question. Every one of you have to have an answer. What's next? What's next? I mean, people had asked me, what are you going to do when you graduate high school? I already told them, I'm going to go work. My dad worked. My grandfather worked. What's next? It don't make any sense. What a stupid question. Probably why I never met this lady. You ever had somebody ask you a question you couldn't get out of your brain? I went to bed that night. I couldn't stop thinking, what's next? What's next? And you know what? Over the next week, it hit me. What was next? Next wasn't what my mom and dad wanted me to do. Next was what I wanted to do. And I remember walking in there, and Miss Johnson looked at me and said, Dale, what's next? I said, Miss Johnson, you have no idea how much thought I've been giving this. I've decided I'm going to be a teacher. You could have heard crickets in that room. But you know what? She wasn't judgmental. I mean, she obviously knew I wasn't a Rhodes Scholar, not R-H-O, R-O-A-D maybe. And she reached in her desk, and this is what she said to me, Dale, here's an application. I want you to apply to the State Area Vocational School. I want you to get a trade. I know your daddy and your granddaddy work at the aluminum company. And if you just get a trade, you'll make very, very good money. But you have another dream. You want to know what's next. So when you get that 2-year degree, I want you to go back, and I want you to go to the junior college down at Rome State. I want you to get a 2-year degree. And after 4 years of study, now, Dale, this is no surprise to you, but you have not applied yourself in the 4 years here at Everett. But you're going to have to apply yourself before you go to college. And after 4 years of getting ready, University of Tennessee will take you, and they'll give you a degree in education. Now, after all that, let me tell you what Dale Henry heard. You're an idiot, son. Your friends did all this stuff while they were here. You didn't do diddly. Now you're going to have to do it again. And I left with those forms in my hand. A pretty little sophomore. I had study hall with her. She was a looker, boy. Woo, you underestimated that, right? I mean, yeah, you. And she started walking with me to the lunchroom. She said, what did Miss Johnson say? I know she met with you guys today. What did she say? Well, more importantly, what's next? She asked me that specifically. What's next? I said, well, I want to be a teacher. I want to teach. But Miss Johnson said I have to go to 2-year vocational school and then 2 years at junior college because, well, I'm not smart enough. Wow, what an amazing thing happened next. It was so personal, on a personal level, it changed my life. She took those forms. She said, can I see them? I said, sure. She took them. She ripped them right in half. I mean, I was going to have to go back and get more forms. She ripped a half again. She threw them in the trash can. She looked at me and said this, don't you let anybody steal your dream. You want to go to college, Dale, you go to college. We live in a state that they have to take you in school. You can get better there. Pretty smart little girl. Married that little girl. That's my wife, Deborah June. And I went on to the University of Tennessee, and I graduated in 2.5 years, not 4 years, 2.5 years. Must have did pretty good. They put a Latin phrase after my diploma, cum matata. It's not cum matata. Close enough. Guess who got the first invitation when I graduated? Miss Johnson. 2 years later, I got my master's degree. Guess who got the first invitation? Miss Johnson. 1991, got my PhD. She was in a nursing home, had it videotaped, made her watch it twice. Everything I'm going to tell you is going to be just boiled down to a syrup in the next minute, because it's what I want you to leave here with. Young teacher walking in a classroom, unassured that he could be successful. A young lady gave me a magazine. I threw it on my desk. It was just free. But it lay on my desk all year long, opened up. On the right-hand side was a calendar. I used it every day. On the left-hand side, a quotation. A young student in my room, his name is Jerry Monroe, walked by my desk 100 times, saw that calendar and that quotation laying there. You see, here's what Jerry thought. That quotation must be important to Mr. Henry. Let me tell you, I never read it. But that calendar was important because I X'd it off every day. One more day closer to the weekend. One more day closer to spring break. One more day closer to summer vacation. I hate to admit that to you, but that's just the way my first year was. But this young student, 2 days before graduation, took a knife blade, cut that poem out of that magazine. You want to hear something funnier than the fact I never read it? I never missed it. A friend of his laminated it to a beautiful piece of oak. He gave it to me on the last day of school. And since that day, it has hung behind my desk as a constant reminder of why we need to keep it personal. And I'd like to recite it to you. But before I do, as my good friend Paul Harvey used to say, now you got to hear the rest of the story. See, my job after 15 years would be changed into administration, so it became my job to hire the young man who would take my place. The young man, his name was Jerry Monroe. The student had become the teacher. But he gave me a gift that I would like to give you as I end my program, and it goes like this. Thank you for letting me come. Thank you for letting me be with you. Thank you for your applause and your kind laughter. But here's the true gift of keeping it personal. When I was very young, I thought that I could change the world. The world will not change because it's too big, too broad, too vast. I know this, you see, because my world would not be changed by me, so I thought I would change my country. The most wonderful country on the planet, full of freedoms and liberties, but because of our freedoms, people will not be changed by you. I know this, you see, so I thought I would change my community. People know me here, but the people that know us best will not be changed by us. You see, a prophet is never appreciated in their own kingdom. And because everyone knew me, they would not be changed by me. I know this, you see, so I thought I would change my family. And that's the biggest farce of all. Because we don't align ourselves with what we say and what we do, and our family stops listening to us because we make no sense. And now I lay on my deathbed. And every one of you mourn for me. A life wasted, you say. Not so, says I. You see, I discovered in that moment the person I truly can change, and by now you know who it is too. See, that person I must change is me. That person you must change is you. And if we do that, ladies and gentlemen, just ourselves, not anybody else, if we keep it personal, let me tell you what will happen to you, because it happened to me. I became changed. My family was changed. My community was changed. And my country was changed. And if we do that one thing, ladies and gentlemen, just that one thing, change ourselves first, we might, just might, change the world. My name's Dale Henry, and I'm done. God bless us, each and every one. Thanks for letting me come.